Hello, and welcome to AHNC. My name is Hat, and today we'll be looking at our old friend Farron Cousins, the very reasonable, not crazy man at all from the Ring of Fire. Last Thursday, the House of Representatives voted on a bill that would change the ability of the Social Security Administration to flag a recipient of Social Security disability benefits under the category of a mental disorder with the ATF, thereby preventing them from passing a background check and being allowed to legally purchase firearms. According to Farron, this will lead to death, destruction, and mayhem across the land. It seems that Farron, as usual, has not done any research into the subject beyond the banner headlines off of CNN. I'd like to take Farron into the deep water on this one. With that said, let's get to it.
On Thursday evening of this week, Republicans in the House of Representatives voted to overturn a regulation from the Obama administration that prevented people who were getting disability benefits from Social Security who were specifically designated as severely mentally ill from buying deadly firearms.
Farron gets one wrong right off the bat. The Social Security Administration does not use the phrase severely mentally ill in any of its procedures. The Blue Book for the SSA describes mental disorders. Severity is listed for each type of disorder and how it would affect the recipient. And second of all, seriously, aren't all firearms deadly? Did you really have to throw that in there? Do you think we didn't know what a firearm is capable of doing?
Now, this regulation at the time obviously was opposed by Republicans, but they were able to push it through anyway in spite of the massive opposition from both the Republican Party and from the NRA.
So the NRA was on the floor pushing for the regulation to be dropped as well? Or did you mean the NRA through the Republicans in Congress? I think that would have been a slightly less clunky and more accurate way of putting it. And let's remember, it was a Democratic majority back then, and it was a Democratic president back then. The regulation only needed a majority to pass. The Republicans couldn't have stopped it, no matter how much they'd wanted to, as long as everyone voted along party lines. It's not like the regulation wasn't virtually assured of going through. And Farron, on a personal note, I know alternative journalism uses more relaxed standards as far as grooming and whatnot goes, especially dress, but for God's sakes, man, shave whatever that fucking peach fuzz is. It looks like shit with a bald head. At least let it grow out a few more days before you put that out there. Honestly, it looks like crap.
But in America today, in 2017, the Republican Party thinks that it's perfectly fine for people living on government assistance because they are too mentally ill to function at a job. It's okay for those people to go out and buy handguns, assault rifles, whatever you want, right? Second Amendment takes precedent here.
I'm providing a link in the description for this part because it's much better for you to look at this on your own. I'm referring to the list of mental disorders covered in the Social Security Administration's Blue Book, describing not only the disorder, but the factors that need to be present in order for the claimant to receive disability benefits. A quick perusal of these will show you there are quite a few disorders which actually benefit from a structured activity like going to the range and shooting, such as ADHD, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and even post-traumatic stress disorder. Structured environments help people cope, and there's nothing that I find more relaxing and more structured than a day at the range with a safety officer, with someone who knows what's going on looking over your shoulder and helping you out. There's no reason you should not be able to bring your own gun to the range and enjoy this activity. No reason whatsoever for a number of these disorders. And it doesn't end there. When you get home, you're supposed to clean your firearms after you've used them. Cleaning a firearm is a very detailed and satisfying activity. You learn about your firearm, you learn what makes it work, and you gain respect for it. Yes, there are some that are prohibitive, like schizoaffective disorder, mood disorders, substance abuse. But just because you're receiving Social Security disability for a mental disorder doesn't automatically make you incapable of enjoying, owning, and safely using a firearm. And that's what this regulation did. It made anyone who was receiving benefits under a mental disorder claim ineligible for firearm ownership. Not only is that a sweeping generalization, it's also a violation of due process. There is a system in place to keep people who are not competent to legally own a firearm. And this regulation, through Social Security, violated that process. Violation of due process impinges on your 5th and 14th Amendment rights. So leaving your Second Amendment rights aside, there is still a violation of your constitutional rights here.
Now, I don't care what your views are on the Second Amendment. Maybe you're completely for it, maybe you're completely against it. But I don't think that anybody can really justify giving a gun to somebody who is mentally ill.
Okay, now we've gone from severely mentally ill to mentally ill. Well, I got news for you, cousins. You can be mentally ill and legally own a firearm. Look at the ATF form. It doesn't say, do you have a mental illness? Yes, you don't get one. It's very specific. Check it out. To address your second part of playing fast and loose with the American language, no one is giving these guns away. They have to be purchased. Now, aside from private sales, which are kind of murky, there is one thing that covers any sale of a firearm, be it at a gun show or be it at a retail store. And that is the seller has the ultimate right of refusal. Doesn't matter if you've got more than enough money to pay for what you want. Doesn't matter if it's exactly what you were looking for the entire time and you want to take it home right then and there. No. If they don't like your look, they can tell you to go away, pound sand, and never come back. And you know what? They have every right. There is nothing anywhere in the statutes which says you have the right to purchase a gun if you want to. No, it's not how it works.
People with schizophrenia.
Not all people afflicted with schizophrenia are on Social Security disability, Farron. Surprise! You can be very well managed with the proper medication in certain cases, and you can lead a productive life. However, I can't think of any schizophrenic I've known who would qualify on the ATF form and be legally able to purchase a firearm. Next.
People with multiple personalities, people who hear voices.
Just pulling them out of your ass, aren't you, cousins? Multiple personality disorder? So rare, some psychiatrists don't believe it exists. You think of Sybil? That was a bullshit case. Total memories insertion. Hearing voices? You know who hears voices? Schizophrenics, you dumb fuck. You already said that. You could write these things down, couldn't you? It took me 20 seconds to look at the blue book for the SSA and pick out 3 things that I could cover in this video that didn't qualify as mitigating circumstances for owning a firearm. You've had all this time and you can't do shit with it. Fuck you.
Whose mental capacities are so hindered that literally they can't function in society.
Still talking out of the old shit porch. It's not a matter of not being able to function in society. It's a matter of not being able to function in a work environment. If that type of environment exacerbates your symptoms and you cannot function, you get disability. Not being able to function at work and not being able to function in society are 2 entirely separate things. I'm beginning to think you at least qualify for a little bit of disability.
That's what this law from President Obama was targeted at. It wasn't targeted at people who were otherwise disabled. Maybe they'd lost a hand. Maybe they'd lost a leg. You still get Social Security benefits for that. This was targeted at the people who can't function in regular society because their mental capacities are lacking so much.
That's right. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and show me on the doll where President Trump touched you. It's okay. You're among friends. It's not about functioning in society. It's about functioning in a work environment. Mental capacity, there is a section in the Blue Book regarding mental capacity. It's listed out, but mental capacity is not the be-all and end-all of mental disability, you idiot.
We didn't want them to have handguns because we have seen what happens when the mentally ill get their hands on weapons. Newtown is a perfect example there.
Newtown was committed with an AR-15. That quibble aside, the shooter in the Newtown massacre, or as the rest of America knows it, Sandy Hook, was not legally allowed to own a weapon. He stole it from his mother's collection. But even if Social Security had been reporting him to the ATF the entire time, it would not have prevented that shooting one little bit. Okay, that's one fucked up example. Will you do better on the second one?
Aurora, Colorado.
Swing and a miss. The Aurora shooter obtained all of his guns through retail stores legally. He did not lie on any of the ATF forms. He was not a recipient of Social Security disability. He had not been in any trouble legally. The closest he came to being disqualified for legal ownership of a firearm was when one of the university's mental health professionals he had sought out thought about putting him on an involuntary hold on a mental health ward because of his homicidal ideations. However, that person thought Holmes was borderline and would be set over the edge by such a hospitalization. I'm not saying we shouldn't try to keep guns out of the hands of dangerous people, but what you're talking about did not apply to the case at hand. If you want better gun control laws, make better arguments.
And we want these people to have weapons? We want to give them to people who are even more impaired mentally than the people who carried out the Aurora shooting and the Newtown shootings?
Straw man, you bloated corpse. I can see that one from space.
What on earth does the Republican Party stand to gain from this? Well, I'll tell you. Money. Money from the NRA. Backing from the NRA.
Yes, the NRA does not have a great reputation. However, find me a Democrat who hasn't taken money from someone or some foundation, whatever, that other people wouldn't have held their nose at. Muslim Brotherhood? Does that ring a bell? But wait, it gets even better.
And here's something else that people need to understand. If you are a member of the NRA, please understand that that organization does not care about you. Because the vast majority of the money that goes to the NRA to keep that organization flowing is not coming from your membership fees. It's coming from the firearm industry.
Liar, liar, liar. Look at this graph. Membership dues, $107 million. Contributions, which includes corporate entities, $71 million. Close, but no fucking cigar. And it gets even worse for him, because if you add the $107 million from membership dues, plus the education and other line, which is at $28 million, you get $135 million. Not quite twice as much. And only 70% of those donations come from gun-related corporations. So now we're talking $51.8 million from gun-related corporations. Someone's strong suit is not reading charts or math in general.
You have become a tool of the firearm industry whose only goal is to make money.
That statement is so fucking moronic, I gotta hear it again just to make sure I heard it right the first time.
You have become a tool of the firearm industry whose only goal is to make money.
Oh my God, an industry that wants to make money? Are you a fucking communist? Capitalism much? Unbelievably. That doesn't even rise to the level of sophomoric. It's just plain retarded. I guess Gillette overcharges for those razors because they want to make it rain more in the desert? What? Time to drink bleach. Oh my God.
They don't care what you do with the gun once you get it. They just care that they get your money for it. The only reason they care about the Second Amendment is because they profit from it.
I really don't give a rat's ass if the gun industry believes in the Second Amendment because they're big fans of the Constitution or what. That makes no difference to me. I like to buy, shoot, and take care of firearms. The Second Amendment allows me to do that. And if by supporting the Second Amendment, the gun industry can provide me with the product I want that is accurate, safe, and interesting to use, then I don't really fucking care. I think the guys who take Viagra probably don't care if the people who make it, who is it, Pfizer? I bet they don't care if Pfizer thinks, wow, we're really helping guys with erectile dysfunction have sex with their wives or their boyfriends or who the fuck ever. They don't give a shit about the guys getting their dick hards. They want the money. Do you think they charge the outrageous prices they do because they think it's good for you? I used this word in the last video, and I'm going to use it again. Your arguments are so facile, they're transparent. You can see right through them, and it's pathetic.
You have to open your eyes and see what's happening here. Giving guns to the mentally ill is one of the dumbest things I have seen come out of Washington in the 12 and a half years that I've been talking about Washington.
Well, I think we can all count that as 12 and a half years wasted. If after all that time, you can't make a better argument than a guy who's been doing YouTube since only fucking July of last year, you have serious issues.
I mean, you'd have to be mentally ill yourself in order to think that this is a good idea.
Pinche tu madre, you sanctimonious, talentless hack. I'd like to laugh at this guy, but I'm so fucking insulted, I'm beside myself. And I would expect anyone else with an ounce of sense and an ounce of self-respect who watched this video to feel the same way about this guy. Maybe you don't? Okay, that's your right. I personally would love to see him off the air so that he can no longer poison the minds of impressionable people with his absolute unresearched drivel. This guy has his head so far up his own ass that it took me over 16 minutes to reply to a 3.5, maybe just under 4-minute video. That's not right. You shouldn't be allowed to fuck up that many times and have a YouTube channel. It makes me wonder what kind of echo chamber these people operate in. I'll bet Steve Shives doesn't block them. I'll bet. Anyway, that's enough of my yelling at idiots. I'm really glad you all came to watch this. I hope it was enlightening. I know some of you may not agree with my views, but I hope you were able to at least see another point of view and take something away from it. Please leave your comments in the section below. I'd love to have a dialogue with you about this. And with that said, thank you for your attention.